You're listening to the Chain Clankers podcast with your hosts, Quentin Ferris and Horacio Gonzalez. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chain Clankers. Welcome in, everyone, to the Chain Clankers podcast. I'm your host, Q, here with another episode with Horacio Gonzalez. We've got a fantastic episode for you today. Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different for you guys. It's debate night. You know, I feel like we've gone with a lot of interviews lately, a lot of education going on. And, you know, I wanted to spice things up, and I wanted to have some real conversations that maybe you guys are having as well, and just some debates that I would love to hear your guys' opinions as well. If you're listening on YouTube, drop your answers in the comments down below. But let's bring Horacio in. Horacio, how are we doing today, man?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about these today. You know, these are definitely things you see pop up on Facebook, YouTube, whatever, people, or local league nights, people will argue. So I think it'll be fun to kind of debate these and just, heads up, you know, these are some of these we are going to argue about, but it's kind of, you know, for just what we've heard on the streets. You know, don't come and attack us and be like, oh, you guys are completely, you know, we're just wanting to put it out there, get the thoughts going, and see what you guys think.
It's okay. You can attack me, man. I'm from the streets. I get it.
Yeah.
I get how to survive out there. You know, come at me with your hottest takes. I want to hear them. I want to hear the hate coming out from whatever you guys, if you disagree with me during this episode. Horatio, did you have any opportunity to play disc golf recently? What have we been up to? Any improvements in the game, anything like that? What have you been up to? We haven't really chopped it up in a while on an episode.
No, not this. I didn't get to play this weekend. It was decent out, but it was just busy weekend. But I did play this last week. I missed out on doubles. Totally forgot, but it was a nice day. But I got to go.
Were you at the course? Because I saw the Instagram story. Were you at the course during doubles, just not playing doubles?
Yeah. We just went for a walk.
Okay.
We went for a walk, and it's down the street, so we just cruise. I was like, "There's a lot of people there," and then it dawned on me that it was Wednesday. So, yeah. We did not play any disc golf this weekend. My girlfriend and I are in the process of moving, and we got a little bit before we get into the crib, but we've been doing just a whole lot of renovations and projects and painting and stuff. So our entire weekend was filled with random little side projects, as well as the weather just has been not very good recently. Just a ton of rain. I have this also terrible habit of every time I see like a little creek or a river or something, and you know, it's been raining a lot here in the middle of Kansas. So I'm like, wow, the water is just so full right now. This is crazy. Even though like I literally understand that the water is, you know, it's been raining, but I don't know. That's just my tick, I guess, right now. But I played a couple of days ago. I think on Friday. We're recording this Sunday night, so right before it drops. So I think I played on Friday, and I think I played pretty good. There was one hole at Warner Park here in Manhattan. Hole 6, if you've ever played it, if you're in the area, the basket is probably around like 310-ish, maybe. I honestly don't know how far it is, but there's two bushes that like kind of like take away any opportunity to land right at the basket unless you can throw it far enough to like kind of go over the bushes. But there's a lot of stuff on the right side which kind of makes the hyzer difficult. But man, one disc that is being slept on right now in my own bag is the West Side Queen. It is very good, and I need to throw that a lot more because it literally pured right past these two bushes that I probably couldn't do again if I tried to, and it went like 5 feet past the basket. I've never even come close to throwing it at the basket, and it went 5 feet past. So that was a really fun birdie. And then the very next hole, I thought what was going to be an ace, probably missed it by about 6 inches or something like that. So pretty good, pretty fun. Definitely hoping the rain holds off and can get a couple more times out there on the course before we fully move. Are you working on anything right now, kind of in your game, or focusing on something you're improving specifically?
Yeah, the one thing that I'm working on right now that I was getting frustrated. So if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, the Enigma by Disc Mania is the hottest
disc in my bag right now. Like I've got 3 of them in the bag. I absolutely love that distance driver. And I was having a problem where I would just be turning it over way too much, uncharacteristically turning it over. So I've been having troubles with keeping my front hip engaged and not falling out of it too early, if that makes sense. Maybe not opening it up too early is a little bit of a better explanation. So I've been really trying to work on like hammering in, keeping that hip in place until I completely follow through correctly, instead of opening up too early, which causes an anhyzer release, which then causes it to go way off to the right, which is undesired. So I've been really trying to focus on that a lot with just any of my throws, and that has definitely started to go a lot better. Rounds have been a lot more fun, focusing in on that and ensuring that the discs I love to throw aren't doing something I'm not expecting them to do. That's kind of been the one thing I've been focusing in on right now. I saw you put up a Instagram post talking about form changes. So maybe you want to highlight a little bit of what you've been working on as well.
I'm still kind of in that, just kind of focusing and slowing down and building that muscle memory, focusing a lot on the pull through. I've seen a lot of progress with that, just slowing down and really focusing on that pull through more than anything. But what I've kind of been focusing on, working on my game, is the turnover shot, and then also kind of like the flex shot with just overstable discs. I've gotten the hyzer shot down. I can throw that pretty normally, especially the way that I throw. But I'm trying to get more distance out of my overstable discs, and throw that very defined flex shot to get just that extra distance. And then on the turnover shots, I've been working a lot with putters and mids. I love the Mako 3 is one of my favorite discs. But the other day I went and played league night and practiced for it, and I threw the Mako 3 on a ton of the holes, just trying to get comfortable with it, but just really working that just straight line, and then that right turn, that turnover shot. So that's kind of what I've been doing.
Nice. What are you throwing for turnovers right now? What disc are you mostly using?
All of my putters, I just throw those. I have 2 Mako 3s, another Mako 3s, and then for fairways, the Undertaker, that one's been working really good. And for distance drivers, the Hades, those, I have one that's like super beat in, that is just a crazy turnover disc. And then once that, it's a medium level, but I love getting that right turn shot. It's one of my favorite shots, probably.
I feel like I need to put a stag by Westside in your hand. I feel like you do pretty damn good with a stag. That's the one disc where on like level ground I was hitting like 400, 420, just because it was crazy going to the right and then wouldn't eventually flex back out. But yeah, no, that's definitely really fun. We're going to be able to play a lot of disc golf here together here pretty quick. So super excited for that. Something else that I'm super excited for is in the upcoming episodes, we're going to be running a little bit of a giveaway. And the couple of giveaways that we've done so far for our brand, we've done over on Instagram.com/Chain Clankers. So like if you follow us over there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't, we've just done a couple of disc giveaways, just here and there, but we're going to do something special on the podcast side. We're going to be giving away a disc of your choice coming from the winner, as well as we're going to give away merch to another winner. So 2 people are going to win. We're going to give away a disc to someone, and we're going to give away either a shirt or a hat to another winner. So that way there's 2 winners. I think that's a little bit more exciting. More details to come, but make sure you are continuing to listen to the podcast, because there's going to be some hot, fresh details coming in about that. And just a little hint, a review is very helpful.
Yeah.
And by leaving a review, constructive criticism is something I think we both really love and
Definitely
just enjoy getting, because that allows us to get better, right? It's something where, and apply this to your disc golf game as well, right? If you look back a year from where you are and you're like, damn, I haven't gotten any better, everything looks the same, then like you're not getting better. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be able to look back a year from this episode and be like, wow, that was awful. And that's literally what we said in our first ever episode. If you haven't listened to it, I ask you, go listen to it, see how far we've already come, and where we want to continue to take this podcast and this brand. So definitely go check it out, because striving to get better is important, and we want to compete with the big dogs in the Disc Golf Podcast Network. And in order to do that, we'd love to hear your constructive criticism. We'd love to hear different segment ideas or episode ideas you guys have. We got a couple in the works right now, and something else that we're cooking up is a little like Zoom party with some pros that you're going to want to make sure you get on, and you can ask them questions, and you're going to be able to talk to them one-on-one. It's going to be super, super fun. So definitely stay tuned for all of that. That stuff is going to be dropping here pretty quick. Anything else you want to add in, Horatio, before we kind of get into these debates?
I was just going to kind of go over one of the reviews that we got just as an example, and just to show you guys that we're not afraid, be honest with us. We want to improve, like Quentin was saying. We just got a recent one in where, they didn't even really give us a chance. So if, give us a review, but definitely give us a chance to improve on that and build on it. So this review, what came in from a listener, they said, main host Quentin is good. Horatio does not have a good radio voice, and which I agree with. Who doesn't hate their voice? I listen to these episodes every single time, after we record, because I want to see how I'm doing, how I can improve. And trust me, guys, I hate my voice also. So I don't disagree with you on that one,
It's
man.
okay. I like your voice. I think you're doing great.
And then he said, and asks weird questions during interviews. I wish he would have stuck around, or I wish, I could know what he meant by weird questions. I try to ask thought-provoking questions, not just, your basic, boring questions that I could ask. I try to ask stuff, really get in the heads of these pros, just mainly for you guys. I want to ask the questions that maybe not everyone is going to feel comfortable asking, or ask the questions that people might not be thinking, but, we're thinking on the spot, and sometimes I just blurt out. So definitely, I wish I knew what weird questions I've asked, but if you guys have any examples, shoot them my way. That'd be fun to see. But yeah, and then basically he said another show was better and that they were unsubscribing. So we read your review, and we appreciate it, and we're gonna work on it. But definitely, I wish they would have given us a chance to at least, improve on it. So we're not afraid, let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, any feedback is good feedback, but the feedback that we can take and get better from is better. So the more specific you can be, or, maybe an example or anything like that, really does help us, because, we do this for you guys at the end of the day. Like we like to do the podcast because it's fun, but we want to help people get better. And to do that, any feedback you have, like I said, any feedback is appreciated. The more specific, obviously, the better, because it allows us to improve, just like we're trying to improve our disc golf game. But we've got a fun episode for you guys today. I think we've had our fair share of just chopping it up here in the beginning. We haven't really been able to chop it up at all in an episode recently. Let's get into these debates, Horatio. These are going to be hot and spicy. You wanna kick us off with the first one?
Yeah, and I'm a little scared. After I pitched this idea, I was thinking about it. Like, I don't know. For you guys that don't know, Quentin did debate in college. This man.
Yeah, bro. I did debate. I did policy debate. For any of you nerds out there, I did policy debate all 4 years in high school, and then I did it my 2 years at community college. So I have got 6 years of debate experience, and my last year debating, my partner and I went to the national debate tournament, which is the equivalent of the NCAA tournament for men's basketball, which was the first time ever that our school had done that, and only the third community college who'd ever done that in 75 years. So I'm ready for this show. I was literally thinking the same thing when we were coming up with ideas for this episode, and Horatio said, let's have a debate night. I said, I'm all for it. I'm ready. So I'll let you start off the first one.
So you would say you're a master?
Oh, I'm a master debater. Let me tell you what, guys. I'm ready for this.
Okay. All right. The first one we got here is what some people would call maritime law. So basically, this is, let's say you lose a disc and you go into a pond or a river or something to look for your disc, and upon doing that, you find other discs. What people refer to as the maritime law is basically you went in there, you found it, that disc is now yours. What do you think about that?
So I will say, if that happens, if you find another disc in the water that is not yours and there's any resemblance of a name or number, you should try to get it back to that owner. It is not your disc. It is their disc that you just happen to find. It, to me, is the equivalent of finding a disc in the middle of the woods or in the middle of the fairway or in the basket or anything like that. Just because it's in water, I don't really see a difference. Because like it's somebody else's disc. Like I've literally lost a disc because I sat it on top of a basket before. So like I think that if you find someone else's disc and there is a name or a number or anything that you could try to contact, or even if let's say that's not on there, I still think that you should take a picture of it and put it in the local Facebook group, because I did not know about this for a while, but go on Facebook. There's probably a disc golf Facebook group in your town. Definitely join it. It's a ton of fun. And be like, you could either do one or two things. You could either be like, hey, I found a disc on hole 6 in the water. Let me know what it is and I'll get it back to you. Or you could literally just put a picture up there and be like, hey, found this. Whose is it? I'd like to get it back to you. I think that is what should be done. I do not think that disc is yours.
All right, so let me ask you this. Have you ever thrown a disc in like a river?
Absolutely, yes.
Did you go in for it?
No, because it was a river.
So you gave up on the disc?
Yeah, for sure. But okay, I think a better example for me is Big Tuttle's. So Tuttle Creek Lake here in Manhattan. I have thrown a disc in the lake before, and I did not go after it.
Why not?
Because I did not want to get wet. And
so if someone came behind you and they were just, wild and they were going to get in the lake anyways, and they didn't mind getting wet and they risked it for the biscuit and they found your disc that you gave up on and you didn't want to get wet for, I feel like they earned that disc.
I think that your vocabulary in I literally had it and I forgot the word as soon as I started talking. The risk it for the biscuit, they were already going to get into the lake anyways. If they lost their disc is not my problem, if that makes sense. What if I was going back to my vehicle in order to grab like a towel or something so that I could go into the lake? And like, I don't know about you, but like I'm not able to carry a full-size towel on me. So like I really cannot go into the water like sporadically and go get said disc. Like that would have to be something I'd have to leave and come back to plan for. Now, if it was a disc that like, if it was my pink Enigma, I'd get wet for it. But if it was just some rando disc, or maybe if it wasn't like my favorite disc or a disc I used every single time, or, a high percentage shot disc, I'm not getting in the water for it. I'll either get a replacement or someone else finds it, I'll give them like $5.
So you wouldn't get in the water for it basically because it's not worth it.
Yes.
So if somebody finds it, they're finding a disc that you said is not worth it.
Yeah.
So if they keep it after they did get in the water, I feel like that's their bonus for going in the water. So for example, there's at my course here, my local one, hole 18 is over the pond, and depending on the season, it's either frozen, it's mossy, and it's green or nasty, but it's not that deep. It's maybe below knee in some parts. Like it's pretty above your ankles. It's not deep. But I've been in there a few times, but I've played with people and have come up to the hole on other people, and I'll be like, it's probably there. Like I can almost see it, or like, I'm like, it's not that cold or deep. Like you definitely could go get it. And they're like, nope, I'm not getting in there. Like I'm definitely, nope. Like I'll buy another disc. Like it's not worth it. And to me, like I've been in there. And so if I knew where the disc was and I was to go get it, like why would I give it to them if they didn't want it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's totally safe.
I think it's you're not, well, okay. I guess it's you cannot be in their mindset right? Like, you can't be in their brain. Like, I mean, if you're with someone and they're literally like, I'm not going in for that, it's not worth it. Then, like, if you go in there and get it, like, shove it in their face and be like, this is mine now. I am the captain now, right? But, like, let's say that, you know, who knows? Maybe they're going back to their house to go get whatever. Because, like, I carry just a couple of small towels, and there ain't no way I'm gonna dry off with a couple of small towels, and then, you know, put the kicks back on and all that stuff. Like, I'm about to call it good after that. But, like, it's one of those things where I think the biggest differentiator is, let's say, like, what is the difference between losing it in the water and losing it in the woods in your mind? Is it that you know it's in the water? Because I'm assuming a world in which you can't see it in the water, you just have to get in the water to get it, right? So what's the difference between going into a heavily wooded section of the course and getting in the water? Because I feel like, let's say I get in the water anyways and I don't find it, well, then I'm just unlucky. Which, if I go in the woods and I don't find it, I'm just unlucky, and then someone else is lucky enough to pull up on it, if that makes sense.
I would say that the fact that majority of people I know would have gone into the woods and attempted to look for it, and they would have been in there for a good while, and they would have tried to look for it at least. And if they didn't find it, given up because it was getting too dark, takes too long. You know, I've given up on some discs in the woods because it's just taking too long, and I'm not going to keep my card mates up. So, you know, but I know people tried, and in that case, like, you find it's off the fairway, it's worth, you know, giving them definitely all those discs. Every single disc I ever find, I call the owners back. And so I would say that's the difference. But another example, another course that's in town, there is a hole where on the left-hand side, there is shrubs, and the inside of the shrubs, like, they are completely covered in thorns, like really big thorns. And I threw a disc in there one time, and you had to get in through this, like, really small gap on the back end, and I still got scraped up by the thorns. But once I got in there, like, you had to maneuver, and it was really tricky. But I found like 4 discs in there, and I did not, you know, this is, you know, some people are going to get mad. I did not contact those people, because to me it was, they gave up. They weren't willing to go in there because you could see them from outside. I wasn't going to go in for my disc because I saw the thorns. But then I was like, oh, there's like 3 or 4 discs that I can see. So the people could see the discs. They just chose not to go in there. And I've lost those discs since then, or given them away or something, because I think only one of them was a good disc, which is why people left them.
Okay, that last sentence now has me with 3 questions. The first one, and I think for time, I'll ask these 3 questions and then we'll move on to the next one. So the first one is, you said something about taking too long and then giving up in the woods. So what's the difference between taking too long in the woods and giving up, and, like, saying it's in the water and then giving up? Because if the end result is giving up, I don't see the difference in, like,
the difference,
just because it's in the water.
Difference is because I know that majority of people didn't even attempt to get in the water, as opposed to they actually attempt to look in the woods. Like you said, you weren't going to get wet. Most people, like, are not going to get, I know they're not going to get in the water at all. It's very few people that actually will. So I know they probably didn't look for it.
Yeah. The second question is, you said you were going to leave that disc in the thorn bush until you saw other discs. So is it more of an incentive to do something risky because you know there's a possibility of other discs being in there, so that gives you an incentive to go in and get them?
100%. Yeah.
So you're not just going in to get your own disc, you're going in for the hope of doubling up.
Yes. Because I'm already going to get wet. I'm already going to potentially, like, get slithered up on by a snake, because there's water snakes at those ponds.
They'll kill you.
And so after I find mine, I continue to look. I'm already in there. I'm already wet and stinky. Yeah. So if I find more, because those waters are stinky.
I remember that. Yeah, that one, that Paul one. It's definitely somewhere in our story archive.
Yeah.
Stinky water.
But another quick, like there's a guy here in town, and there's a couple of guys maybe, but he goes into every once in a while into the Arkansas River, which
Mm.
is it's a big boy.
Is that the
And
river by? That's not the river by your house, is it?
yeah, it's the one that goes through
Oh,
Oak.
okay, okay.
It's a big river, and like that river will push you down. Like it, depending on like how deep it is or how high the water's running, it can take you out. But he will get in the river and go in there fishing for discs, and he will like gather up all these discs and go and turn them into like the stores and sell them, and then they'll sell them as used discs. Depending on when you go, if they just recently came in, you'll go in and like you'll be standing in front of the used section and it smells like river water. Like you can smell the discs. And he, like, to me, like I am totally like I think that's fine because he is willing to risk it going in the river. Like I'm not going to go in the river. So anything that I throw in the river, if you want to call me, and depending on what the disc was, if you want to call me saying you found the disc in the river, I'll either tell you, oh, you can keep it, or if it's a disc I really like, I'll be like, I really appreciate it. Like I can give it back, and I'll offer them money. Like I won't say no to a disc they're calling me about. But if they keep it, I'm not offended because I willingly left it in the river.
Side question real quick. If you find a disc in the river or any body of water, two sides of this. Are you expecting to get money in return if you try to give it back to them, / are you offering money to get it back from them if you want it back? And is that different from if it's just found off in the woods or in the fairway or something like that?
No, I never ask people for money if I find it. And a lot of times if it's like, I don't know, a disc that people might miss, like I know I would miss, like I'll give them the shot. But I never ask people for money for their discs or try to sell it back. And I think your second question was, do I offer?
Yeah, so it's like, you already answered do you expect money to come back for the disc? And if the second part is, if you lose it in the water, are you always expecting to have to pay to get it back, if that makes sense?
I feel like if they're actually contacting you and it was in the water, you should offer to give them some money.
Yeah.
If you want that disc back.
Okay. Another question I have on this before we move on is, okay. You said that there were discs, and I'm going back to the shrub story that you mentioned a couple minutes ago, and how you said the discs, like, you could understand why they were left there because they weren't worth it. Does the value of the disc determine whether or not you're getting wet? So if you're throwing a DX Leopard compared to a ESP Raptor, does that change if you're getting wet or not?
100%. Yeah. And like now that my bag is a lot better, like it's discs that I 100% throw, or I routinely throw all the time. As to before, it was discs that I threw here and there trying to figure it out. Pretty much most stuff in my bag is stuff that I am willing to like go in, like if I throw in the pond. But even then, it's some of it I'm gonna be like, no, like it's not worth it. Like
so follow-up question, is your statement at the very beginning universal that the maritime law, if you find a disc in the pond, it's yours? Like, I guess I'm trying to say, like, if the disc isn't worth it, does any of this discussion we had just matter? / like, are you comfortable? So like, let's say you lose, what's a disc in your bag that, like, if you lose, you don't really care about?
In my bag currently?
Yeah.
I would say
That's a tough question.
Oh yeah, I only own like the discs that I throw, so that's like I would say I have like a Discmania Sensei.
Okay. So let's say you lose your Discmania Sensei in the water. Are you going back? Are you going in for it?
If it's somewhere I can see it, I'll go in for it.
But if you can't see it, you're going to give up?
If I can't find it, yeah.
And so then if someone else finds it, it's theirs and no problem?
Correct.
But let's say it's that ESP Raptor. Do you still have that same sentiment?
If as far as going in for it,
Yeah, so like if it's an ESP Raptor, are you going in, no questions asked every time?
not if it's like the river.
Yeah. Assuming it's a safe body of water, not like a deep lake or a river or anything like that. Let's say the pond on either, what is that, 6 or 18 at Oak,
Yeah.
you go in every time?
No.
No.
No, I would not.
So then if someone else finds it and it's theirs, that's okay to you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we got all we need from that then.
I
Let's
think
move on.
okay, I think you just argued my side,
I did.
but
I
I'm fine.
absolutely did at the end. Yep, absolutely. Let's move on. I think that was a great discussion, much longer than I anticipated, but I just had to ask those questions and then, yeah. Okay, so our next debate we've got 5. We're through the first one.
And it's 1-0. Not that we're keeping track.
Whoa, yeah, I know. 1-0 for me, bro. I absolutely got you on that one.
No.
Hey, if I argued for both sides there, I gotta get. It's at least 1-1. It's at least because okay, I'll make my case for why it's 1-1 because I'm contending on the fact that there's no differential between the water and the woods, and that there's like a.
That's not what we were arguing though. We were arguing if you call the person back if you find a disc in the water.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So then, in that case, I'll argue if there's a name and number, you always should call it back.
No, because of what we just argued.
Okay. All right. I'm going to get lost in that and again, and I'm going to go to something that's not critical to the argument. So we'll move on. Let us know. We'll let you guys at home keep score. We'll keep score up here. It's 1-1, but okay, I'll give it to you. It's 1-0. Let us know what the score is right now. Next one we got. What is a real ace? Go ahead and kick us off with that one. What do you mean by what is a real ace?
Okay, and so I will agree that there is a bunch of different aces, and people will say ace is an ace. You know, if you throw from the tee pad and it goes in the basket, that's an ace. Okay, but to me, like I feel like a legitimate ace is it was your first shot, and for I would say an average, and this is so FPO plays a different course than MPO plays. The distances are different.
I would argue, like in general, or just on the Pro Tour.
On Pro Tour,
Okay,
like they're different.
Let's talk general.
Okay, fine, general.
Yeah, let's talk
I would
general.
say for the person specifically, you know, like I'm not going to say that a 320-foot shot is realistic for like a kid that's 9 years old and started playing. If they get an ace on a hole that's 130 foot, yeah, for them like that, okay, that's an ace. But I would say just for your average, you know, player, let's say for us two, we're talking about us two here in this situation. I would say it's your first shot. I would say north of 270 feet, like no less. To me, that is a real ace. Now, if you can get practice ace, you know, you're practicing, you're throwing like 10 shots out of basket, and you happen to hit one of those, like, yeah, that's an ace. You hit it in one, but it's not like a real ace. That's what we're here to talk about.
So, okay, so let me just make sure I understand exactly what the argument is. You're contending that it has to be the first throw, so it can't be like, let's say you're throwing 10, if it's like the 6th shot, it's not an ace, because it has to be the first one that leaves your hand, right?
Not a real ace.
So, but the question is, what is a real ace? So that's not a real ace.
No.
Okay. And so then you're saying, or at least this is what I wrote down, that the ace has to be realistic on like, I put down expectation, but like skill level. So someone who's 9, if they hit 130-foot ace from the tee pad to basket, that's good. If you're Paul McBeth and you hit an ace that's like 350, 375, 400, whatever, that's good. Kevin Jones, that 530-foot ace, like that's, you know, cool. If you're some rec player, then 250 to 270 plus, right? That's what you're contending. That's what has to classify as a real ace.
Yeah, I would say the distance has to like match your
Okay.
skill level. That's a good way to put it.
Okay. I will contend that a real ace is from the tee pad to the basket. If it is your first throw, then it is an ace. If it is, I guess, let me say this. When you are going towards the basket, if it is the only throw on that basket, then that is an ace. If you're in a situation where, let's say you're playing it out with like a fairway driver versus a mid, and your mid doesn't hit it, but your fairway hits it, and like you've been doing that all around, it's not like just this basket, I'm throwing two different shots, and you hit it with the fairway, I will contend that that is an ace because that was the only throw with that disc towards the basket. I think the only things that matter for a real ace is it came from the tee pad and the disc lands in the basket.
My only problem with that is that you were able to correct. You had time to adjust. So your mid, for some reason, didn't make it where you were close. And so you were able to see and you adjusted, which that still takes a ton of level. And that's still really impressive because you were able to adjust, which is almost harder than hitting it off the first one, which sometimes is a lot of luck. But same with like putting, if you ever, I like carry 3 putters with me and out to practice. And based off my first one, I'll adjust the next one and the next one. And especially if I'm really far out, I'll get closer and closer. And usually I'll make the third one, but I'm able to adjust.
2 points on that. The first one is the last thing you said, when you get closer and closer. I think that's like, I'm not getting closer to the basket. It's still the same shot. And the sentence before that is, I think that putting is a lot easier to make an adjustment on, because if you're putting from even, let's say, 30 feet away and you miss low, to aim a little bit higher. And most of the putting is the exact same. I mean, driving, you should be doing pretty much the same motion, but there's so much more that can go wrong / errant when you're driving, and the further away you are, it's harder to make that adjustment. So I think even if you're able to make that adjustment and it still goes in and it's the only throw with that disc on the basket, that's an ace.
Even though it's not your first shot.
Yep. Because if it's from the tee pad and it's the only throw with that disc and it lands in the basket, that's an ace.
Even if you've already thrown 3 shots with.
Yep. I'll contend that if you throw 30 shots and the 31st, somehow you have 31 discs in your bag and the 31st one goes in, that is an ace. Now, I think it's an ace, but does it potentially diminish the value of that ace? Yes, but it is an ace.
Because basically, I mean, let's say you carry 30 discs and you throw 30 out of basket, every single disc in your bag, even if they're different, like every single disc in your bag is a different disc. So technically, in your argument, every shot would be your first shot. Well, so that's 30 first shots to get an ace.
So I guess the difference between that is like, okay, I understand what you're saying, but the fix to that argument is it's coming from the tee pad. Because if you're not on the tee pad anymore, it's no longer an ace. Because let's say I start the hole off with it's a 400-foot hole, right? I throw the Enigma, and then now I'm sitting, let's say, 120 feet out, right? Damn, that's far. I would hope I'd be closer than that. But let's say I'm 120 feet out. Let's say hit a tree 120 feet out, right? And then I get a throw in. That's a throw in. It's not an ace. Because
I agree. It has to come to the tee pad. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Agree
so I
on
think the answer to the argument you just made is it has to come from the tee pad, regardless of what disc it is. If that makes sense.
Yeah. But my argument is just first shot and distance.
Yeah. So it would be, in my opinion, it is technically your first shot with that disc.
It is the first shot, the first disc you grab out of your bag, and you're saying, and you're saying, like, let's say it's not a practice round, you're playing maybe a league night or something, like it's the one shot you're going to take.
Well, I think the difference is in between like bringing a league night or a tournament into play is you only get the one shot.
Right.
Then we're on the same page. But let's say you're just hanging around, solo round, round with buddies, practice round, whatever it is, and you have the opportunity to legally throw more shots, then I think it doesn't matter what order shots come from, as long as it comes from the tee pad and goes in, it's an ace.
Yeah, I agree it's an ace, but is it a legitimate,
I'd
like
say
it's
yes.
a real ace?
I'd
Because
say
to
yes.
me, I have not gotten an ace yet. And, that's like one of the big moments for any disc golfers, getting your first ace. Like, that's amazing. That's what the goal is in this sport, is to put it in the basket in one shot, like for some holes. Not for, obviously you can't do it on all of them, but for me, if I was like, I want to get an ace this week, I probably could go to my local course and pick one hole that I am comfortable with and go there and empty my bag for 2 hours. And I guarantee you that I would get an ace, but I would not be proud of it because I basically did it until it went in.
I would be proud. I would
wouldn't-
never do that personally, but I would be proud because I was standing on the tee pad and threw the disc in, and it went in. And that's something to be excited about.
I wouldn't be proud of it being my first ace.
Yeah.
Just like I would not, there's a course here in town where the longest hole is 205 feet. I think like 190 to 205. That's the longest hole. But majority of them are like 150, 175. I would also not be proud if my first ace was on that course.
Yeah. So, okay, two things I want to contest here. The first is I think that it's an exciting moment regardless of what the distance is. If you throw the disc from the tee pad and it goes in, and you should be proud, and you should be like, this is an ace. This is a legit ace. I was on the tee pad and it went in the chains. Doesn't matter if I threw it 30,000 times, as long as it happens once. I think that's exciting. And I think you can take the 29,999 misses and be like, okay, got to get back in the lab, and fix what made you miss so often. Right. The second thing I want to contend is I think there's more to the ace than just the distance factor. I think the makeup of the hole is almost more important than the distance factor. How high is the ceiling? What is in the obstacle? Is it literally just a wide open field and it's 250 feet away? Or are there obstacles in the way? So for example, I have 3 aces right now. They all come from the same course. And the last one I got, literally, you either have to have a forehand that is pretty much kissing a massive, like, kind of pine tree-ish thing, and it has to kiss it in order to go in the basket. That's the only line. The other one is you have to play it's hole 3 at Baby Tuttle. If you're in the Manhattan area, Horatio, you know it. Go on our Instagram if you want to know. It's that reel where I have a skip shot and it almost kind of goes in. Okay. I think I'm in like a red long sleeve or something like that. If you want more of a visualization, you either have to throw like I said, the forehand right at that kind of bushy tree that's in the way, or there's another tree that's right in the way that kind of takes away any hyzer because the hole is so short. If you throw a hyzer and go around that tree, if you throw it high, you're not going to be able to get to the basket in time. And B, if you just try to go around it, I think the only way you could get in is a skip shot, or if you are able to throw a justice or a tilt very special and it goes in, or you really challenge it and you throw right at that tree and it just somehow misses the tree. So mine, there's a gap that's probably about as wide as the disc and maybe plus or minus an inch, 2 inches, something like that. And it actually kicked off of the tree just ever so slightly and then went in. I will contend that's a real ace because even though the distance was only I'm not sure right now. Let's assume 150. I would have to look again. Let's assume 150. But the obstacles in the way make it so challenging that still counts as a legitimate ace due to from the tee pad and the chains. That's all that matters.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said when we started, like that's an ace, like that's it went in the basket, you know. Um, I guess to try to put some perspective to this, let's say we took Paul Macbeth or Simon Lazat, who literally will be like, all right, we're gonna go play around. Let's see if we're both gonna get an ace, and they'll literally go out there and just like nearly ace every single hole. So let's say we took Simon Lazat or Paul Macbeth, and we told them to rank or to like if they could to put down like all of their aces that they've had in their careers. And
I think I'm going to stop you there because I think where you're going is a direction that's going to say some sort of tournament ace comes first. And yes, because you only get one shot at it. I don't think a practice ace or a non-tournament or league night ace is going to be inside their top 5.
not even top 5, but just if they had to write down every single ace that they've ever gotten, I guarantee you that a lot of like those aces that they've had just in practice rounds or just like messing around or like were very short distances. Like if Paul Macbeth went out to like Baby Tuttle, and I feel like if he got aces there, and then you asked him, I feel like he would not consider a lot of those like real aces. I'm talking like really, you know, like it's
So what I'm
real is a
hearing
bad
then
word.
is a real ace has to be so hard that you got lucky it went in.
Partially, like
No, absolutely not.
it's like a
There's no
perfect
skill
shot.
involved then.
There's still a lot of skill because like it still went in. You still had to put it on track to go in.
Yeah, but what's the difference between putting it on track to go in and just getting lucky? You know what I'm saying? From that far away, like I don't think there's a quantifiable difference. You could have the best shot of your life and it goes in, and then you play that hole the rest of your life and you don't even come close to acing it.
100%. That's what majority of aces are. Well, not majority, but I would say a lot of aces are that way. There's a lot of luck involved.
So then like to me that means like it like I guess how I take that then is any ace you get has to come from luck, not from skill. You have to get lucky that it went in. Where I think like skill matters and that it that kind of part derives away from what my main argument here is that as long as you're from the tee pad and it goes in the basket, I'm bare bonesing it. Like that's all that matters to me. If you're at the tee pad, goes in the basket, it is an ace for sure. I don't have to know anything else. I don't care if it was your 30th, 40th, 100th throw. I don't care because, ooh, wow. Think about this, right? Think about this. Let's say whatever hole it is, you finally get that ace on. Let's say you've been playing. Let's say tomorrow you go to Oak, right? And you ace. What's the hole that you put the either stories or reels up on Instagram that you're almost acing? Is that like 16 or something like that? The one that's kind of by.
There's a few, but
Okay, take any of those. It doesn't really matter.
yeah.
Take any of those. What is the difference between, let's say it's the 30th time you've been to that course and you finally get it, and in the same setting, it's the 30th shot. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that, you know, hey, yeah, you've been able to see it 29 times very recently miss, and now you just made the fix. But, like, if you've played the course so much, like, aren't you constantly getting a rep on it? So if it's your 100th time playing the course and you finally get the ace, does it really matter because you've had 99 previous shots on it?
Yeah,
that's where I'm getting, I guess, from your argument.
The difference is that every single day that I go, even though I'm playing it every single day, the conditions are never the same. Like the wind is different. It's going a different direction. I feel different. Like my body is not going to be the same as opposed to if I go and throw 30 shots within the span of 5 minutes, like unless it's crazy weather, it's going to be very consistent conditions.
Which I'm glad you said that at the end, because that my next point was going to be like, what's the difference between, well, now the wind changed or the wind ticked up a little bit, or maybe the wind let down a little bit, or now the sun's in your eye. And also, like, when you're consistently throwing, like, I don't know how many of you guys like throw multiple shots on like a hole. Like, even at the, like, sometimes I'll throw 3 just because I felt like I was close the first 2 times and I really want to push it. But like after like 2 or 3, like, the body is struggling. Like
Mhm.
it's you know what I'm saying? So like if you get it on the 30th, it's like, damn, bro, you really like push through some pain in order to get it there. You know what I'm saying? Like it's almost like kind of like, damn, bro, like I'd love to see you go out there and try 30 shots and see if you can get it on the 30th. Like that's almost like a bigger accomplishment because your body's been so worn down from the 29 previous shots that have just happened, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I don't know if we're going anywhere. Basically, that's what we wanted to argue, though. Your
Yeah.
argument is T-pad to basket doesn't
Ace.
matter. Nothing else matters. It's an ace. Me, I say there are different kinds of aces. There are practice aces. There are tournament aces, which I feel like would be.
Those are the top. I'll agree. Those are the top no matter what. If you hit an ace at league or a tournament or whatever, that matters more than a practice ace.
So there's different kinds of aces.
Well, I'm contending that the question is, what is a real ace? A real ace is anything that from the T-pad goes into the basket. Are there different levels of aces? Yes. There's a different level. It matters more if you hit a tournament ace because you're playing for something than if it's just myself dicking around. You know what I'm saying?
So it matters more as it's a better ace.
I think it's a better ace because like you're in a competition. So for example, like when Calvin hit that ace, that matters more because he's playing for like a victory on the pro tour. Or like, let's say at league night, you hit an ace and you bought into the ace pot, you're going to get some money. Where like, if you and I are playing and I hit and you hit an ace, what changes other than the score? Nothing, but it's a real ace because you hit it. So like for me,
it's
the bare bones, the point of the argument is it's what is a real ace? A real ace is anything that's from the T-pad to the chains.
Real is a bad word. I would say legitimate or
any word you put there, I'm agreeing.
Or like thoroughbred is a bad word. Like what's another word for like thoroughbred?
If you would have said, are there different levels of aces? I think we would agree more. But because it was worded as what is a real ace, what is a legitimate ace, what is an ace? An ace is anything T-pad to chains, in my opinion.
Yeah.
No, doesn't matter when it comes by.
Yeah, but no, I'm happy with your statement of a tournament ace is better than a practice ace. That's all I wanted to hear.
Okay, so, for sure.
2-0.
No, not at all. Not at all. I absolutely dominated that one. We are easily 1-1 right now. Easily 1-1 because I don't think you can get out of.
All I wanted you to say was that one ace is better than the other. That's all I was arguing.
We'll see. Then I don't think we had the right headline for the question if that's the case.
Yeah.
Because I'll agree all day. If you say that a tournament ace is better than a practice round ace, sure, I'll grant you that because you're playing for something, and it matters. Where if you're excited either way, there's a level of joy and excitement and happiness when you hit the ace. So like, if it's just us playing, you're still so like. If we're playing and you hit an ace, I'm going to tell you it doesn't matter because it's not a tournament ace by that logic, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, even just playing, like I would be excited. Like doesn't
exactly. So it's a real ace. That's where I'm getting from. But I think we can both agree that if there's two baskets on a hole and you hit the one you're not going for, everyone on the card has to buy you a 6-pack. Black ace is real. I don't know if you've heard of that before. Heck.
No.
Okay, that's just what I heard from around out there on the streets. That's what I've been hearing. So we had 5 for today's episode.
I think we got time for one more.
I was gonna say, yeah, we've been going for a little bit. We're probably close to about an hour already, and we've only gotten through 2.
And I think we should skip to the 4th one because I'm excited.
Oh gosh,
just to hear your arguments on that.
I would like to go with literally any other one because I'm expecting to lose that one regardless, but that's okay. That's okay. When the next version of this we do, I'll make sure I pick up and I'll come up with some arguments that give me a W, but that's okay. We'll go with this. We'll assume we're tied 1-1 and we'll let the fans decide as well. The last one we've got here is mids are scams. All right. Mid-range discs are scams. You don't need a mid-range disc because the crutch of my argument is any shot you use a mid-range for, you can use a putter for. And when I say putter, I'm including zone, harp, tactic, whatever. Those speed 4 putters. You can use a speed 4 putter or lower, or you can disc up to a fairway and probably get a better outcome. Mids are scams. They're pointless. Just throw a putter.
My very first argument to that would be, and then I'll let you tell the story, but how much does that push you towards the edge of becoming a Tim?
A Tom?
A Tom. Whatever the fuck his name was. Tell us a story about Tom and his.
Okay.
Damn, that's actually his real name. We probably shouldn't have done that, but
that's okay. No one knows who we're talking about.
Tell us about that, and then tell me why your argument doesn't put you to becoming closer to that.
Okay, so this person, we're using this as a metaphor, right? You use one disc and one disc only. So that would be like me using an Enigma for my drive, my upshot, my putt.
That's what Tom did.
Yes, right? Where I'm saying you
what did
don't
he
need
say about putters.
What did he say?
Do you remember what he said about putters?
No, I can't. I was too busy messing with his head because this guy started talking politics, and I was like, I'm just gonna take the other side and just mess with this guy. What did he say?
He said putters are fake. They only created those to make more money. You don't need putters.
Okay, I completely disagree with that. You absolutely need a putter because a putter you have much more control over. Where like, are you putting with a mid? No. No one's putting with a mid. All right, you're putting with your putter. And like if you're throwing a mid, like I can throw a zone just as far as I can throw a Malta, a Buzz, whatever. Insert
I can putt
rando.
with a driver though.
What?
I can putt with a driver though. Have you ever just messed around and like after you picked up your driver?
Oh, it goes in every time. Every time.
Every time.
Every single time. But like there's more consistent and more consistency and more reliability in the putt with the putter than the putt with a Enigma, a Wraith, a DD3.
But the driver goes in every time though?
Because you don't care and you're just tossing it up there. Nothing matters. Right? Like how many times have you legitimately lined up a putt with your distance driver? I can say maybe once, if that.
But
right?
They work.
But like when I like don't care and I'm just tossing it in out of frustration, it goes in every time because I suck. And of course it went in this time, right? Like I'm coming from the standpoint of like a putter you're going to get more control out of. You're going to get a more predictable flight out of. The angle you put it on, the angle you put it on is going to be more true than whatever angle you put on a mid-range, right? Like I can take an extreme anhyzer to a dynamic disc justice, and at the end, it's going to fade out. Where like if I do that for a crown, like it's going to finish to the right. Or if I do that for a zone, it's going to probably finish to the right. Maybe it'll finish straight instead of more left. Like I think like whatever angle you're putting your putter on is more true and therefore better like for your form and learning how to get better. And like, I think you can get just about as much distance out of a putter for most AMs. On the pro level, that completely different. Like, yes, you're going to use a mid for different things, but on the amateur side, you're going to get maybe 20 feet more from a mid than you're going to get from a putter, and your putter is going to be more consistent, in my opinion. Like, that's why I think you should just go with the putter compared to a mid. And then like if you feel like it's too far, then like just go with your fairway driver and throw a little baby hyzer if you know that's the play you have there, or throw it however, and you're probably going to get to either where you wanted because you don't have to throw as far, or you're going to get even farther than what you would have if you were throwing the mid. So like just go with your in between putter and fairway. There's no need for a mid.
So is there any need for fairway drivers?
Absolutely. That's what
But
you're gonna like. Let's say you're. I see what you're saying here. You're gonna just say, "Well, get rid of the fairway driver and go to the distance driver." I'll double down. Let's do it. Like I don't.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
no. In all reality, I think yes. There's a time and there's more shots for the fairway driver than there are for the mid. Especially when you try to bring in a distance driver. I think not everyone has the arm speed for a distance driver at the AM level, where more people have the arm speed to get a true flight out of a fairway driver, if that makes sense. Like I think the fairway driver is going to be more accessible and more used how it's intended to than like, let's say you take what's a really understable distance driver? I mean, like a Hades is pretty understable. You think of anything off the top of your head that's more understable? Like
Roadrunner.
Okay, let's say a Roadrunner, for example, right? Like if you throw a Roadrunner and you don't have the arm speed, it's just going to be a hyzer, regardless of what happens. Like it's literally just going to go up and then it's going to come down to the left. Where like if you have the arm speed to throw a Maverick, which is understable, like it's going to give you a true understable flight. Or in essence, by disc mating, it's going to give you an understable flight. It's going to go to the right and then either finish right, or maybe it'll come back a little bit to the left at the end. So I think like arm speed absolutely matters here.
I would say, because that's like one of the best recommended to newer players that want to get that turnover shot, is a Roadrunner, because as long as you've thrown it correctly, or if you're not throwing it correctly and you want to learn that shot, you're going to get a Roadrunner to turn over, or it'll go into a roller, even if you don't have the arm speed. And so if you're trying to learn the disc, then I would say the same argument that then a fairway is useless if that one's working for you.
But like if you throw a roller when you're not intending to throw a roller, is that good?
No.
So then like what are you learning? You just threw it bad.
And you have to go back and fix your form.
Okay. So like we're in a tournament and I throw a Roadrunner and it's a roller out of bounds when I could have just thrown a Maverick and it would have done something more predictable. So like just go to the fairway. But also I think we've now entered this zone where we're talking more about fairway drivers versus distance drivers than mids versus anything else.
Yeah. Or if it's like, let's say the shot is still, let's say 250 feet.
Okay.
220 to 250. You're probably not wanting to go to all you have is the Roadrunner. Instead of going with that, because you're going to turn it over or whatever, disking down, and you need something that's faster than a putter, because you said that you don't get that much more distance from a mid than a putter. You should be. And if you're not throwing it correctly, because a mid should be a faster putter. That's why they exist. So if you don't want to throw distance and you don't carry fairways, a lot of people don't carry fairways, and you want to disc down, you would go to a mid. You wouldn't really jump straight down to a putter.
I don't see a difference between a multi and a zone. I think they accomplish virtually the same thing, and the zone is going to put you in a spot that's more predictable and more consistent than a multi.
A zone to me is a mid.
So like at the beginning, I contested that zones, harps, tactics, whatever, probably Navy RX3, I'm not sure the exact flight numbers on that, are considered putters, not mids, because they say putter on them.
Correctly, they're putt and approach. But the way that a zone feels and flies, to me, that's like closer to a mid than it is a putter. Like that's why they're called putt and approach. But to me, it's closer to the mid side. I would classify it more as a mid than a putter.
So I guess then maybe a better line would be a putt and approach disc is better than a mid-range disc. And you should choose the putt and approach because it will be more consistent and predictable than a mid-range disc. Like, I don't know, you don't throw a buzz, do you?
I throw Makos.
Okay. So like what's the flight numbers on a Mako? Is it the same as a buzz closely?
It's like 5503 or something.
Okay,
Like
so it's overstable. So a buzz is relatively neutral for the most part, right?
Mako is like super, like really straight. It's supposed to be super straight.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say the buzz here, for example, is, I think the number is 55 -11, if I'm remembering it correctly. So therefore, it should be a pretty straight flyer. But like at the amateur level, I'm just speaking from my own experience when I threw a buzz, which I was a lot worse when that happened. Like, you would be aiming at one place, and then because maybe your angle was off or you didn't finish correctly because you're not as good and you're not going to be 100% on your throw every single time, you're not going to get the desired outcome. Where if you're throwing a zone or even a harp or, tactic, whatever, where, it's a 0 turn and a 3 or 4 fade, the disc is always finishing left, and you're pretty much going to get the same flight out of it. Like, I think like if there's a 50-foot difference, then yeah, sure, maybe it's worth going up, but I think you're going to be within 20 feet of each other for the most part. And it's going to have a more predictable flight, which I think is more important on the AM side because you're more likely to not have a perfect throw.
Yeah. Yeah. And the same way that you're saying you have more accuracy, more control, the argument you were saying, like why you should use a putter as opposed to a driver for putting. And you said you'd have more consistency in your throw and more control over your shot. That is why mids exist, because they give you a little bit more control and consistency than you get from a putter.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I think that you could just disc up to a fairway driver and not throw it as hard, and you can get the same outcome as a mid, if not a better outcome. If you bring in a distance argument and a predictability argument of, all I have to do is throw this on a little bit of a hyzer and it's going to go up and it's going to come down and it's going to be fine. Where, with a mid, it's like, I'm going to throw this straight. And if I'm off with my angle a little bit, well, now it's 50 feet to the right where I wasn't expecting it to be. I think you just have more predictability and control with the putter and fairway driver.
I think maybe you haven't found mids that you like.
Maybe that could be also possible.
Also, I think that if you played more wooded courses, or like you had more experience playing wooded courses, your argument would change. Because if we went to a course that, there's one here where the holes, it's pretty much wooded the entire way, low ceilings, and the holes aren't that long. They're maybe like 300, some of them, majority. So some of them are less than 300. You're going to get more speed out of your mid. You wouldn't go up to a fairway because you're going to have more of that control, shape shifting, if that makes sense, with a mid than you would a putter.
Mm-hmm.
Because a putter, I mean, you can still do the same shots with a putter, especially if it's comfortable for you.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Especially for me, putters have a very deep dish, and I have a hard time driving with them because I feel like they kind of stick to my hand, which I'm getting better at, and I can do it. But it's the mids that I have, they have a not as deep rim, so I'm able to throw them comfortably.
Yeah. So I think what we've decided here is it's comfortability. Throw what's more comfortable. Because if you agree that a zone is equal to a Mako 3, would you say?
Not as far as flight, but I would say for the kind of shots that I'm taking. Like if the zone is very overstable, correct?
Yeah.
I use the zone a lot for approach shots or for forehand approach shots or for like driving on shorter holes that are to the left, like just a hyzer, but I want to go straight. Mm-hmm. So like kind of a tunnel. Because I know I can rip on it. It's going to go straight, but it's going to finish just slightly to the left. So I use it similarly as I would a mid. If I have a shot that needs to go straight and to the right, I'm going to throw a Mako.
So then just pick up I
wouldn't throw in that same shot, I wouldn't throw a fairway.
Well, I wasn't even going to say a fairway. I was going to say just pick up a more understable putter, like a Fierce. And you'll get the same outcome as a Mako if you want it to finish right. And I think then it comes down to, I guess, how does it fit in your hand? Do you like it or not?
Yeah, because you should be getting more distance. You should be getting quite a bit more distance from your mid than your putter. They're slower discs.
Yeah.
Like, there's no arguing that. Like, they are slower discs.
I don't know. I think I obviously, let me know if I'm capping here. If you guys are all agreeing with Horacio and I'm crazy right now, let me know on the YouTube comments, and hit me up on Twitter, Instagram at Chain Clankers. Let me know. But like I really don't think. I think yes, 9 times out of 10 you will get more distance with a mid, but I don't think it's enough to make it more valuable. I think if you're 20 feet further, but you're then 20 feet more off to the right, that's not as helpful as being 20 feet back, but more straight on.
Then I would say that is your problem, and you have to figure out how to accurately throw that disc.
Yeah. I guess my argument is
throw it more and figure out where you need to. And it would become convenient, because if it's ending up 30 feet to the right, then that could be super convenient in a certain shot where that this is what it's going to do.
Until you've fixed what's going wrong, and then all of a sudden it stops doing that, right? Because if it's not supposed to do that and it's doing that, and then you fix that, no, you no longer have that shot. You're back to square one.
Well, then that's just learning the discs.
Yeah. I think we've talked enough about this.
I have a buddy, and he was recently having a hard time throwing everything to the right, and everything was going kind of high.
Yeah.
So for these and then kind of just turning stuff over. So for these last couple weeks, I've been making him drive from, doesn't matter what hole it is. He has 2 buzzes. Just driving with his buzzes, because those are supposed to be super straight and understable, But he only a couple times when he bought them, he was able to throw them straight. But other than that, he never was able to throw them straight. They would just cut right really hard. So that's what he would use them for, or they would go up high. So these last couple of weeks, I've been forcing him to only drive. Well, his first 2 shots have to be with that. And these are practice rounds. And he's driving with those 2 buzzes, and I'm able to kind of look at what he's doing and adjust and tell him, okay, try fixing this or correcting this. And these last couple of weeks, he's been able to start throwing those buzzes straight and really far. Last week, he was like, yeah, this buzz has never gone that far. It was like 250 plus maybe, because he threw it how it should be thrown, where he would have a hard time doing that with putters.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are super understable, unless you have really overstable putters.
Yeah. I would say that I recently have been able to mid distance. What would you say is mid distance? 250?
Yeah, 250 plus, yeah.
When I see a hole that's 250, I know I can easily get there with a putter. Or I can set myself up to get a birdie or an easy par with a putter, and I know what's going to happen. Where with a mid, I don't know. I think that there's a range, because at 300, you can just throw a fairway driver and put it on a more predictable line more often than not, and you're going to get the same outcome, and it's going to be more predictable. So let's wrap it up here. We've been going for quite a while. It's starting to get late. I still got to edit this. It's 11 o'clock at night. I think this was really fun. I had a blast. Hopefully you all had a blast as well. We have 2 more that we didn't even get a chance to talk about because we got so long-winded. So if you guys like this, let us know. Thumb this video up on YouTube if that happens to be where you're watching, or maybe leave a review on Apple Podcasts, or just hit us up on Instagram. I would genuinely love to know what your guys' thoughts are on these, because, the more people who have this discussion, I think obviously the better. So let us know your thoughts, so that way we can, just understand who won this debate night. And
Yeah.
we've got 2 more, so we really just have to come up with 1 more, and we can have another episode just like this. And I had a blast.
I want to say, just for the record, on the first one, somebody had to be the bad guy. But every single disc I have ever found, if it's in the water or not, I have texted that number.
Yeah.
If I can read it. If it has, the ones that are 100% freebies, if they have no names or numbers, I'm keeping those. Sorry, guys. Like, you were the dummy. Write your name, write your number.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad.
I'll say one more thing before we get out. I'll say that I'll at least put something on the Facebook group and be like, "Hey, I found this." But if I don't get a response within, like, I'll say 48 hours, that sucker's mine. It's over.
Yeah. No name. Too bad.
Almost a bar. Close enough. Thank you guys so much for listening. We definitely do appreciate it. We got a fun interview for you guys next week. Hopefully you enjoyed the little bit of a change of pace. I know this was a longer one, so for those of you who like the longer episodes, definitely you're going to be excited about this one. But yeah, we'll be back with you guys again next week. Again, giveaways coming up here pretty quick, as well as be on the lookout. We're going to have a little Zoom party coming up with some pros. That's going to be super fun, going to be very informational. So you're going to want to be a part of that. And more information will be coming here pretty quick. So stay tuned. Hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already. We highly appreciate everyone who does that. And we'll catch you all next week.
See you. Thank you for listening to the Chain Clankers podcast. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chain Clankers and hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to us from so you never miss another episode.